Hello, sir.
Hey, how you doing today?
I am good, buddy. I'm loving this cool weather.
Oh man, yeah, I was actually went out running this morning. After I had my little
Nice.
sprint in the airport, I realized I wasn't going to have a heart attack when taking it up to Sirius because I just got so slack. And at this age, man, it falls off fast. Um, but yeah, perfect weather for it. I mean, so if you're down here, this is what we an old tennis pro of mine used to say, called it Chamber of Commerce weather.
Yeah,
Everybody
exactly.
comes down here this time of year from till the end of April. It's just usually gorgeous.
Yep.
Then June sets in, and you're like, kind of, huh? Good thing we invented air conditioning. A good thing
Yep,
somebody invented
exactly.
air conditioning. But yeah, beautiful,
Exactly.
beautiful, man. How's your day going?
It's going well. Yeah, it's just going well. Just, same old, same old.
Plowing through
Um,
that honeydew list.
not today. Not today. Um, what's the market doing? Nothing, right?
Ah, shit. I barely looked earlier. Everybody's waiting on still tomorrow. The CPI print. Um, as in 6.5, I think is the expected number where that's going to fall. I mean, I have no idea. Um, I kind of think that it's probably going to be, well, I don't think it's going to beat it. I'm kind of going, I think Shizzy's saying 6.8. I'm kind of feeling somewhere around 6.5, 6.6. Because this stuff gets
Ah,
not massaged, but the right word. Can you hear me?
uh, Euphoric is
Oh,
saying he
okay.
can barely hear me. I don't understand. Oh, you know why? Because I'm on the wrong fucking microphone.
Friggin'.
Hold on. Hold on.
So I think everything's waiting on that. I mean, I saw some charts earlier, but it didn't look like much was happening. I just been buried since six, so let me still quick catch up here.
Hey guys, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Is that any better? Gentlemen,
You still
Euphoric,
sound good to me, but I guess I'm inside the loop.
I don't understand
As
why the
in,
hell my mic volume is so low. Dennis said a bit better. Thanks, Dennis. I don't understand why I'm having this problem. My component settings in the computer are set correctly.
get your kids in to
Uh,
figure it out for you. Oh, they're at school.
yeah,
That's right.
yeah. I don't understand what the fuck is going on. I really don't get it. I don't get it. Uh,
Just talk louder.
he said barely. It sounds distant. Why
Sheesh.
is it not
Hey,
working?
check. You know what? Check in Streamyard in the audio settings because
That's what
sometimes
I'm
I notice.
doing.
Oh, okay. Because like I have to always reconnect to a Bluetooth
Yes.
headset separately instead of default. Like, could you select your microphone individually?
Test, 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 test.
Hey,
Is that any
perfect.
better?
Yeah, that's a lot better. Definitely.
Is it?
Yeah, Eamon says
Okay.
yes too.
Awesome.
There you
Okay.
go.
Now am I too loud?
No, no, you're perfect, dude. That's the way it
It
used to be.
it's not distorted?
Not to me.
Okay. Beautiful. Thanks, guys. Appreciate the troubleshooting assistance. That's fantastic. Thank you, Euphoric. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Shizzy. Thank you, Eamon. Thank you, Niblets. Niblets, I think Pal has been messing with Brad's mic.
Yeah.
Well, Joe, that was you had the right solution. For some reason, StreamYard, even though it says default to my ATR 2100X, wasn't actually using that mic.
Mm-mm. It doesn't go there, I noticed. Because that's the
It's
times,
fucked
sometimes
up.
when I'm in here and it doesn't work, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I got to make sure it says Bluetooth headset.
Even
And it
says
adds it.
no more distortion than your normal sine spin on things.
There you go. There you
Brad's mic
go.
was hacked by same team that hit the same team that hit the FAA. Yeah, because I am that important.
Yeah, you want to stop global commerce in its tracks? Shut Brad's mouth. Everybody knows that. I mean,
Now, Joe, we had an assignment today, which I
ah,
did not
shit.
do. We were supposed to find new stuff, new coins. So what I thought was, since I didn't, we could go into our friend DeFi Llama's raises section and take a look at a few of those. And I
Yeah, and I
loaded
do
up
have
a
a
bunch of other project news too.
okay. Well, these are ones that don't have tokens or have a very limited chart to the left. Okay.
He wants limited. He was hoping for limited chart to the left. Let's see.
Like
Is this?
just did launches recently.
Yeah, just did raises or whatever. Or
Mhm.
whatever. Um,
Whatever got that token out into the market.
yeah, yeah. So these
Where
aren't
are we
tokens.
here?
These are recent raises. Um,
Well, I'll throw. I mean, aside from the regulars, don't forget about zero VIX. The lending and borrowing or whatever, depositing and borrowing
I never went back to that one.
protocol.
Shit.
Yeah, just it's worth a look. Again, Team India, so somewhat insulated from U.S. regulatory, ups and downs. But because I've been thinking a lot about where is all the yield going to come from in the future, and I'm thinking about how the banks do it. And the bank model is basically, get deposits, pay a smaller interest rate than you get for lending that stuff out,
Yeah.
and that spread is what pays everything. So that made me start thinking about zero VIX again. And I'm like, well, they kind of have an isolated protocol that just seems to be doing that. So, maybe it bears, watching or thinking through. And the other one, again, I've talked about this last week, but, I'm still digging in. But it's it's those X7 guys. And, I got halfway through the white paper. It seems like they're going somewhere, and they've got a pretty good marketing presence on Twitter. It looks like too, but again, developers are. I don't think the developers are doxxed, but all communications happen on chain, so you can actually see the dialogues amongst the developers. I thought it was pretty interesting. I
That's
think the
cool.
developers in the community would really like that, and I just see a lot of promising stuff there. But again, I don't know the people, um, but it just seems like one of those unique next steps. They're very on to decentralize and trust the code, that kind of stuff. Have some DAO structure, but those are always have some level of growing pains to getting to the true objective. But
Right.
it's one to take a look at.
Yeah, yeah.
On top of all the other stuff we talk about. What changed, Canto, Geist, Mona. We don't talk about Mona Veil enough. The digital axe token. It's got a pretty high. It doesn't have. It has a lot of chart to the left, though, of course.
Right.
But it's unique. It's a small float, 50,000. It's don't be shy with the price. It's like still like 300 and something, but you don't have to buy a whole one, obviously, and that goes
Right.
to 1,200 all the time. So and it's digital fashion, it's fashion NFTs. And so GameFi, play to earn, all those things come into effect, as well as in real world cross marketing, which we say a luxury brand and, deploying an NFT of that brand into a game as an
Yeah.
outfit or a device or something. So lots of cool stuff there. Those are just the ones I think. Now, again, you guys know I don't have Mona right now, but I've been in it before. I do have Geist. I don't have any X7 right now. I don't have any change right now. I got a tiny bit of Canto, and um, what was the other one I was talking about? I don't think I have a
Vix.
position. Oh yeah, Zero VIX. I have a very very small position there,
Okay.
but I've been in and out of that platform a few times. But these are all ones that kind of I think next wave look they make it or they don't. But
Yep.
that's just a few. There's another 100 out there. Did you find any there, buddy?
So I found this yesterday, and it wasn't one I was looking for a token for, but they have a token. This was a Phantom Insider put out this chart of Dex performance over the last week,
Hmm.
and look at this. Evidently, this WeGo swap launched on January 2nd. It's already surpassed Spirit and Beethoven in volume and performance. And at the same time, Spooky saw a little decline at the end of the week. I mean, this is just 1 week of data, but very
Mm-hmm.
interesting that it's already outperforming in its first 7 days. These two other platforms. I haven't taken a deep dive into it. Just says it's a swift, simple, and sustainable way while having fun and earning. So they have a referral program. I It looks like a standard swap platform. I assume there's something related to. Oh, they're having a raffle. They have a prediction market. So you can do very similar to what's their names prediction market. Who was that? Price prediction guys. Um, Polygon.
Oh, yeah. What was that called? Dang, darn. So many things in my head right now.
Shit. Oh well. Anyway, so they have prediction market. They've got a referral income
Wait,
capability.
Crystal?
Uh,
Crystal?
no, not
Or Cometh?
Crystal. No. Indian firm. Swaps, LP staking. We spent shit tons of time there.
Define.
Yeah,
Define.
that's it. Define. So they have a
DFYN. Yeah.
similar model for that. They have farming, and we go bank staking. So for some reason, I'm assuming there's some revenue model here that helps you earn tokens. Maybe they had an airdrop promise, and you know they're they're uh,
Looks like some
they're
NFT sales. I
giving
see
away some
NFT sales.
tokens. But I'm just kind of amazed at that growth pattern in a week.
Do you see like that they're doing NFT sales? I
There
see
was something, a mention of NFTs. I'm assuming there's a way to earn with them. Let me see if it says
go under
anything.
the market tab and you'll see down toward there. You see rare wiggies and
NFTs
wiggies.
and gamies. Yeah. Okay.
So it
Decentralized
seems
user
to me,
profile, mini games, and invite your friends with a dedicated earning link to earn up to 50% of new user registration fees. Mint your desired
yeah.
Wiggy NFT and become a resident on our virtual planets. All right, so they're trying to gamify it a little bit. Pretty interesting.
So, that gets the attention, obviously. There's some channels I'm in where all they talk about are the new kind of gaming NFT plays, and everybody pours in there at the beginning. And I think that's why you see that big. I'm not discounting their quality. I'm just saying that you get that rushed in at the beginning for people
Yeah,
collecting NFTs and
exactly,
everything.
exactly. Shizzy says Wigo has been around for a while. I guess the swaps are new. I have no
Huh.
idea. I'd never heard of them, but when they popped up that with that kind of performance, I was pretty impressed. Anyway, I don't know that there's a ton of value there. It could be short lived, like you say, Joe. But Niblet says all I've got is bonk on Arbitrum. A friend seems to be shockingly well there. I thought bonk was on Solana. I don't know. I don't even know anything about
Yeah.
Bonk. I just saw everybody talking about it the other day on Twitter, but I didn't bother to look at it. So if you got news on it, let me know,
Yeah.
buddy.
I kind of got the idea that it was one of those kind of like meme coin things that because everybody's going, oh, and here comes Bonk, which, I guess doesn't really do anything. And I mean, I could be wrong. I'm not trashing it, but I just got the feeling that it was one of those promoted ones that, has a more people come in, price go up model. Everybody leave, price go down.
Eamon says Silo Finance is truest isolated lending markets. Secure money markets for all crypto assets. Silo is a non-custodial lending protocol to borrow any crypto asset with another. Any crypto asset? That's interesting.
I like that.
When you deposit into
I
Silo, you
like,
don't share the risk with other tokens in the protocol. Silos can only borrow the bridge asset from each other, keeping the risk isolated to a single silo. Oh, that's fucking awesome. That's fantastic. To concentrate liquidity, each token asset gets one silo only. Watch the bridge asset. With the bridge asset connecting all silos, liquidity moves fluidly in the protocol, enabling any collateral token to borrow another. Permissionless, designed to support any token asset on the chain it operates on. Silos share default collateral factors that can be adjusted on a silo level at any time. Damn, what chain is it on currently?
team looks good.
What are we on? Let me connect and see if it'll tell me. Ethereum. Well, there you go. Well, some sizable amounts in there deposited for borrowing. That's pretty impressive. All right. Eamon said ETH is the bridge for it. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's pretty impressive.
So the
All
big
right.
differentiator is that when you go into the siloed, I guess these are LP type vaults that your one side of the pairing is contained from the other as far as in um, vulnerability or corrections or hacks. What is
Yeah,
the
I would assume that's what it means, or for cascading issues. Uh,
yeah?
I don't. I'm not sure.
That is pretty cool.
Need
Oh,
to
here's the
dive
here's
deeper
the
into it.
yeah, here's the video. There's a video on the main page saying, what is it and how does it work? I bet it talks about it there. Now I'm going to launch the app. I think you already did, right? I just want to see what the rates are. Deposit, borrow. Well, it looks like you get 14% on Balancer.
Right. So this,
And 5% roughly on Aura. I don't know what that is.
so here's the point of this. The idea is that in traditional lending protocols like Aave and Compound, because everything is pooled together, there's cross risk if one is manipulated, right? With a flash loan, whatever, to fuck with it. And so that's why Aave and Compound have to limit what tokens are allowed in it. In this case, because everything is siloed, there's no cross contagion risk if something gets manipulated. That's awesome.
That is really cool. Good find, Eamon.
That's fantastic, Eamon. You saved the day today, buddy. I love it. Fucking love it. Niblets, RE yield. If percent interest on loans, yield paid to lenders, what happens to volume and lenders? And lenders leave in search of the higher yields in projects that are still loopable? Question mark. I'm not sure I understand the question.
Yeah, I think I think what he's saying is that if someone's in a protocol and they find higher yields somewhere else, what keeps them sticky in that protocol versus
I got it.
switching over to another one where you can do looping and stuff like that. I would say nothing. Well,
except it's a security advantage that you have here, right?
There you go. So I'm going to say, yeah, it's risk. You're going to have the gambling money, the loopable stuff over here, and then the bulk in something that is more, let's just say, less volatile as an instrument or a protocol. That's my read.
So Balancer's at 13.94 deposit interest. Borrow interest is 40.83%. Holy shit.
Yeah, now you see that kind of stuff. I saw Curve on Geist was in kind of a similar dynamic, but they load up all the bonus Geist. So, like, if you were borrowing FTM, I think I have a loan there with on FTM I'm paid like 4 point something percent to borrow it, but I'm getting like another 10% in bonus tokens.
Wow.
So I'm getting 6% to borrow. So I suspect that, it's usually that way when they're trying to really flood one side of it, like get more deposits, let's say, and at least deter the borrows, but at the same time, keep it there so someone will do it.
Nice.
Is my guess. So I think the same thing's going on with Balancer there.
So Ondo announced yesterday tokenized U.S. Treasuries and bonds. I've got an interview up with Ondo, but essentially they're tokenizing the yield you can get with Treasury and bonds, which I think is actually pretty impressive. They already had a fairly impressive system, but to add that to it, that could attract a lot of folks who are trying to stay safe and stable and whatever. So,
what I'd really like to see is also some 10 years on here, because if someone could tokenize 10-year bonds, because when everybody talks about, the yield curve's inverted or whatever, and everybody goes into panic mode like the sky's falling, that just means that, essentially you get more yield for the short-term stuff than, you would for the long-term. So why commit to 10 years versus 1 or 3? But I was thinking if it was tokenized and there were different like lending, the crypto guys coming out, but lending pools, there'd be big ones around that, then maybe there would be easier ways for people to transition, institutionals, from short-term to long-term paper and back out in ways that, allow a better risk balance than either or. Which seems to be what they're looking at now. So you could weight it like, 80% in short term, 20% in long term at different sizes. So you don't have, to pick up entire instruments or whatever.
Yeah.
And small people, the smaller investors could play it too. But yeah, this looks really cool.
Yeah, I think this is really smart. This can attract people in for the bonds and the treasuries, and then people can come in and also use their other components of their platform. So that's to me pretty impressive. Although it looks like they may have changed to be entirely.
What does that say? High quality assets. Our funds invest exclusively into multi-billion-dollar, sorry, it's just
Highly
below
liquid
that. Yeah.
exchange traded funds, ETFs, managed by the world's
There you
premier
go.
portfolio
Okay.
managers.
So look, I mean, that's as regulated as it gets right there.
Yeah, totally.
BlackRock and Finco. It's like, um, that shit's all, that's as safe as it's going to get if you're looking for risk-free type
Yep.
stuff.
I mean, I guess you got contract risk there, but I bet they've built something in. All our funds hold all assets at third-party qualified custodians, are regularly audited by Richie May, and receive daily accounting from NAV Consulting. Well,
I don't know. I mean, I think Richie May is one of those, it's a bigger firm than the name sounds. Um, that's like, funds are audited by Steve. I always remember, okay, here's a non-crypto one, but you remember Stanford Financial back in,
sure.
I want to say the 08, 09 timeframe that
Yep.
just got gutted. They actually had the huge building downtown by the Intercontinental, right next to where Related Group was HQ'd back then and everything else. Well, when that thing went under, and that was a house of cards. The accounting firm was, the address was like this, I don't know, garage-sized building in the back of his yard at his dad's house in Texas or something like that. And it was just called something financial. And those guys were turning in audited financials for like a decade. Well, how does somebody not figure that out?
Right.
How does somebody not look and go, oh, that's in his garage, his dad's garage. Okay. It's not, like an established, like that one, say Richie May, I presume to be super established, but nobody even looked.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the recent FTX stuff, with TradeFi folk. Nobody looked.
Back on the lending stuff, Niblet said, how about compared with projects like ZeroVIX that pay these lenders more than borrowers like a bank? This seems to prevent looping, which may scare away lenders who want to loop. Look, I think this comes down to risk appetite, right? There are people who are fine with looping, and they're going to go to the places that allow them to do that. What is it, Abracadabra and others that are going to let them loop all fucking day long and be on the edge of getting liquidated. I think there's a whole new breed of protocols now that will are looking for being more responsible, being lower risk, right? Attracting traditional finance, like obviously Ondo folks are looking for places where people can park large amounts of money from protocol treasuries so that those treasuries can invest their money in a safe and responsible manner. So I think all of those things, there's just different market segments for it, right? And if you're doing no looping or no value in looping, then you're saying to the market, look, there's plenty of people over there you can go play with. We want to be stable. We want to be, lower returns, lower risk, and that's our model. That's our business model. And I think there's an entire market for that. I think there's a massive, massive market for that. And it doesn't mean all of TradFi is going to come over, next week and start putting money into these things. But we have treasuries sitting on hundreds of millions of dollars out there that need a way to invest it that is lower risk than what is currently available in other lending protocols.
Yeah, and I think the looping at Zero VIX is really a function of, that it's a new project and, what you're actually earning. I'm just going into it real quick because I want to see what
does Zero VIX have looping, like a looping button in it?
No, I don't think it has. You have to do it manually, or at least I was.
I think he was saying that because Zero VIX pays lenders more than borrowers, that prevents looping, and that would make sense, right? They're not paying borrowers.
Yeah, but look here. Let me look at like let's say I'll pick one. Matic X. Okay, so you could deposit Matic X on the platform and that's a synthetic token from putting it somewhere else. I don't remember where. You can earn 1.68% APY, which isn't much, but then you get the VIX APR of 8.97%. So that's a bonus in the VIX token, and it goes into your pre-mined reward category. Right. So, assuming that comes out the same par value you're going in, that represents getting, 11.65%, I think, on the deposit. Now, if you then borrow Matic X, you're paying 5.6%, but you're getting a bonus of 20 point roughly 5%. So
Right.
you're basically net 19% up. But
Right.
you also can go across the one. So you could like go to the highest deposit one. Let's just say it's my, which is about 11 point something. It is not actually the highest, but let's say it's that. And then you could basically borrow my at 678 and then 16.97. But you could also borrow something else. Like you could borrow, how about, WETH or, wrapped ETH. You pay 3.88, but you get a 23.1% VIX bonus on the borrow.
Right.
So, you can get whatever you park in this protocol and just loop it a couple of times,
Makes sense.
yeah, you're getting like 40, 35, 40% net on what's there. But,
Yeah.
look, looping is dangerous. Okay. Price go down fast, liquidation comes pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I just did a little bit at the beginning on this, the looping, because I just wanted to generate the rewards. But, I don't typically do that.
Yeah. Well, now you got me wanting to ape in, Joe. I'm going to blame you if
Well, I
everything
mean,
goes south.
but no, but just remember, you're getting their platform token, and
Right.
you're getting it. I don't know when I think it comes out like next month, this month, something like that. Um, and I also watch the supply and the borrow. And that's been, that's up above where it was before. I remember when it broke 10 million.
Right.
We're looking at what, about 13 million there, it seems like. So, but it's a simple, not simple in a bad way, but simple in a focused way, in
Yeah.
that this is what you would do here. This is where you could borrow. Has a lot of good stuff. It doesn't get it all muddied up. But, again, I don't know the people. I think we dialogued with them some on social a couple months ago when we talked about them, but definitely one to just keep an eye on. I mean, if you buy into the Team India franchise, which I do, because of all the regulatory environments everywhere else, these guys are still building.
Yep.
So, and
Absolutely.
they got a built-in community of about 1.5 billion people
Yep.
that buy India or play India first.
Right. And
So
if you
it
like a
makes
protocol
sense.
like this, you could be stacking up that VIX token, sell some off for some extra profits, and stack up the token, and wait for a bull run back up again. Now, of course, when they're printing tokens, you've got to worry about people dumping those and price pressure. So that's been kind of on the liquidity mining side, the problem. But
Yep.
there are probably people that are stacking this as well because these guys are executing. So anyway, we'll see what happens.
And it has a lot of the guys in there, like that you see. There's some Polygon people in there, the original Polygon crew, and there's a couple of the VCs that were in Polygon, and Define and Router and all of those. I mean, there's a bunch of India plays, but the ones that are just to the forefront of my mind. So it seems like it's a pretty connected group as
Yeah.
well.
Joe, you sent this over. Crypto.com is delisting USDT for Canadian traders.
Yeah, I was surprised because they're
They're
applying
trying to
for a
get a
license
license. Yeah.
in Canada, so they're just going to delist it to get the license. But I was kind of, I guess, Canada, from a regulatory standpoint, um, is kind of putting the brakes on Tether for whatever reason.
Yep.
Now, I don't know if that's because they want to get the USDC running exclusively on that platform, or if it's just a Tether issue in their mind. I mean, I would like to know what it is, because my understanding is Tether's 100% backed by U.S. Treasuries now.
Yeah,
It's not even
exactly.
commercial paper. So
Yeah,
if
so I
anybody
can't.
has any more info, I'd love to know
Maybe
it.
it's just lingering bureaucracy that hasn't updated since they changed what their backing is.
That could be it.
You know, Niblet said, how about compared with projects like Zero VX that pays? Oh wait,
We already got that one, I
we already
think.
did that one. Oh, this was the other one. How do you know your auditor isn't a dog on the internet? That sounds like the lead into a joke. What's the punchline?
An auditor, a dog, and a priest walk into a bar. There's an orangutan in a cage behind the bar.
This was an interesting headline.
this tantalizing end of it. Voyager gets initial approval for $1 billion Binance deal amid national security concerns. What the fuck are the national security concerns?
I think it's something to do with CFIUS, probably. Is my guess. I haven't read the article, but I'm guessing it's CFIUS, which was kind of a law or a rule about foreign investment in the U.S., but then it was pretty much ignored for like 20 years or forever, until I think it was a Dubai World Ports deal, maybe in the aughts or something like that, or 2010, that got shut down. And now it's been revitalized over the last couple of years. So there it is. It's CFIUS. Okay.
Yeah.
That, you
they're
got to
concerned about
comply.
foreign ownership.
Yep.
Right? So trying to block Chinese buying, but they're going to have a hard time. I would assume Binance US has the equity structure pretty buttoned up for this deal.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I was thinking about was that kind of also tells me that the U.S. looked at that source of funds issue there. Like, where is the money coming from to execute the Voyager deal? And so, since it didn't get blocked at that level, it tells me that, there's, oh, wow, just 51%.
Yeah.
But it tells me that they didn't have concerns on that front, or
right.
at least not enough to stop it. So I looked at it as a positive.
Right.
But again, you got to remember, Binance was founded in Shanghai. And when you found a company in China, you have to give up a percentage to the government. Okay, the 3% Guangxi Corporation, as I call it. It's local, state, and everybody. It's not like one person. It's just the norm. Everybody does it. So how that happened, what happened when crypto was banned in China, or when Binance headed out of China? I guess I know they ended up in Malta, but the question is how much China money went with it, and how much China government money, let's say, or elite money is in Binance right now. I would say probably quite a bit. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I'm just saying that's what gets CFIUS there digging in.
That's what it says. Washington has increasingly used CFIUS to stymie Chinese investment in the United States. But CZ is Chinese born, but he's a Canadian citizen. So,
yeah. But it's all the rest of it.
If it does get blocked, Voyager will be forced to repay customers with the crypto it has on hand, resulting in a lower payout for Voyager users.
Yeah, I mean, there you go. That's great PR right there. I mean, that's the way you do PR, CAM and SPF and all that shit. Because saying that, just saying, oh, by this idea, if it doesn't go through, the Voyager customers won't get 51%, they'll get 5%. And you leave it at that. And let the market, let every pissed off investor go, wait, we got to make sure this deal goes through. And they start calling their congressman. Yep. But you're not like sitting there looking like a whiny, weak person with these crazy open letters. You just basically planted the seed and understood that human nature will cause people to react to it.
Yep.
That's PR.
Yep. Absolutely. So Niblets brings up a topic of news, and I think this is fucking brilliant, frankly. Microsoft buying, he said 40%. I believe it's 49% for $10 billion dollars of OpenAI, the builders of ChatGPT. I'm bigly excited about AI, bigly excited about what's possible. I'm using the fuck out of ChatGPT and their Codex platform. Love it. If I had the time, I would spend all day exploring what I can and can't do with it. I read an analysis the other day at Stratchery, which was really excellent, about who in the big 5 tech companies benefits the most from AI technologies, or what they each benefit from it, and where they both all stand and why it's powerful. And they summarized really nicely the value to Microsoft. First of all, Microsoft already hosts all the GPU servers for OpenAI. So they already had some form of investment with that, as well as revenue. But the other thing to remember is they're already using AI technology in their platforms. Bing has an image generator platform. They have a new video generation tool called Volley that they've deployed, that Microsoft's team has deployed. They have in GitHub, their platform that they own. They have And VS Code, they've integrated Copilot, which is a coding AI platform that makes use of data and information from existing code on GitHub resources, which allows people to review code, improve code, create functions, etc. I think that despite the fact that Google has a massive investment in AI, and paid $600 million for Mind, blah, blah, whatever it's called, I think that Microsoft is incredibly well positioned for this. And one of the points that Ben Thompson at Stratchery makes about this is that Bing is so far behind Google. And the problem for Google with AI search technology, the problem for them is that if they do AI search technology, that means that the answers become even better, reducing exposure to the ads, which is a significantly negative impact on Google's business model. Whereas Microsoft is so far behind in search that they don't give a shit. They have all of the revenue they have from their existing platforms. OpenAI is going to be integrated with Microsoft Outlook for email stuff. It's going to be integrated with Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, PowerPoint. All of those things boost the sales of Microsoft Office products. And then also it allows for Bing to become a search engine that's AI based and outperform Google in terms of results. And so that can do significant damage to Google's ad revenue. I mean, if people start to see that Bing is producing far superior results based on AI, people are going to be more likely to migrate there instead of wandering through all the fucking ads that Google posts up. So I actually think this is a brilliant move by Microsoft. Makes total sense. They're already hosting the infrastructure. It does a massive amounts to boost everything they own, GitHub, all of the Office suite, everything else. So I love it. I absolutely love it. I think it's brilliant. Niblet said, what did he say? I just spent nearly a month trying to migrate to an all MSIT platform that has been a complete clusterfuck. I'm about to give up and use Google or all open source. Is this AI's future under MS? I don't know. I haven't been a Microsoft Office user for a very long time. I have used Outlook periodically on iOS and the Mac on occasion. I liked where that product was going, but I haven't probably used it in about a year and a half, 2 years. But I do think that for the exacting, the current install base that they already have, that they are in very good shape to add OpenAI to it. Eamon says, love Copilot, but it has some sketchy legal ramifications since it trains on all code on GitHub, regardless of the license, and can cause copyright issues. I saw as well that there was actually some code being exposed in ChatGPT or Copilot that's supposed to be private. And I think obviously they're going to have to just address that and not expose code that's copyrighted or owned by somebody else. But the question becomes, I think Eamon's getting at, is it's very difficult. Even if they make it so that it's not copying code exactly from repositories that are copyrighted, it can learn from those repositories, right? So it can learn techniques and capabilities that can then be applied to other people's code. And I don't know what the courts do with something like that, where it's like you're learning skills and techniques for coding or structuring code or how to write code or position code, but you're not actually copying the code. What are the ramifications legally for code that's copyrighted that may have interesting techniques? So Shizzy said it'll be really cool if Microsoft puts ChatGPT into NPCs, non-play. Oh yeah, that'd be fucking brilliant. Actually, that's a great play. Not to mention Minecraft, all kinds of shit in Minecraft now. Think about using AI to build your world.
Yeah.
Right? You just plug in, hey, I want X terrain in mountains, X terrain in this. I want this many. I mean, there's just so many possibilities there. I love that, Shizzy. Brilliant. Mr. Mucciali said, I've never understood why more people don't use Linux. I will tell you, I have used Linux off and on over the years. It always comes down to interface, drivers, and applications. And so, the bottom line is most of the applications on Linux are garbage. Some are excellent and do well, but from a UI UX perspective, from my perspective, nothing beats the apps that are available on Macs. And I think that even apps available on Microsoft Windows are superior to the basic apps that are available in Linux. It's gotten much better over the years. There are a lot better iOS Linux distributions like Elementary that are trying to make it much easier to use for average people. And there are a lot of schools that are implementing Linux because it's cheaper with some of the interfaces like Elementaries and Ubuntu, et cetera, that make it easier and faster. It also is good for schools because it allows, there are lightweight Linux distributions that allow for using old used hardware. And those are also great. But ultimately, there's an entire user experience problem for people using Linux, and frankly, it's still not up to speed with truly modern invested operating systems like Mac OS and Microsoft Windows. So, and I'm certainly biased to Mac. Eamon says it does copy paste. Oh, Eamon said sometimes you can be typing and write author and it will fill in someone's name. Oh, that's interesting. He says it does copy paste sometimes. Niblet says my enterprise clients are all on MS. Yeah, absolutely. And Niblet says so it will make collaboration easier. Oh, that makes sense. Niblet says Linux for your dedicated crypto box, though. Yeah, you could do a Linux box for just your wallet, right? That's hardware connected, air gapped, all of that. That makes a lot of sense. You get a lot more security, a lot less likely to be hit with malware. That's one of the benefits of obviously Linux. Euphoric points out that Android is Linux. Yeah, absolutely. I've actually even played with some Android distributions that are for desktop that allow you to store Android applications, but of course, Mac OS has that for iOS apps now. So I get the same apps on my desktop that I have on my phone and my iPad, which is awesome. Anyway, didn't mean to go
the other
quite
thing I was
deep
going
into
to
that topic.
Oh no, it was good. It was good. The other thing is with all the other big tech choices, I have to say I'm glad it's Microsoft taking the lead here, just because I mean they were the evil empire back in the '90s, but when you compare it to everybody else, they're like the only ones that are committed to data privacy and issues like that, and no data mining, no reusing user data, all of that stuff. So I like that, and I like their international focus, which instead of just a U.S. centric focus.
Well, I would say that in the privacy category, Apple's superior to everybody in the space, except for Linux distributions that are privacy focused, like the Tor-based distributions, et cetera. But I agree with you that Windows is a much better player. The other thing that's been fantastically smart about Microsoft's moves has been supporting open source, right? Like they have really invested heavily in open source. They're using components of the Linux kernel and are available now in Windows. So there's all kinds of really cool shit that Microsoft's doing that has really put them in the best position for this. I would love to have seen Apple have a license for this as well, and that may still be part of it. Just because Microsoft owns 49% doesn't mean OpenAI can't license to anybody they damn well choose. So I can also envision something that I think is very likely, and that is an OS that gets rid of all of the traditional interfaces that we're used to, right? And by that I mean task-based OSs. So if you have an artificial intelligence that can do things like data crunching and writing and production of video and audio and graphics, but you don't have to interact with that interface beyond saying, hey, create for me A, B, C, and D, then all of the shit that makes using an operating system more difficult can go away. Right. And it also opens the door to voice-based interfaces that don't require interaction in any way, shape, or form with a keyboard or a mouse. Right. I mean, it can take us on a trajectory far beyond where we've been. So I really hope that Microsoft's going to take advantage of it for a deep integration into Windows, because if anything would give me thoughts about switching, that ability would be fantastic. So
that's a pretty interesting point, Brad, because we always talk about what's the next, interface to be, and where does it go? As far as, I talk about the texting and, manual inputs of stuff. And so people do voice and things, but maybe what the real solution is that it stays the same as whatever way you're comfortable with, but that you have your AI doing all the heavy lifting and doing everything over there that you don't even have to think about. It's just giving you output to action on. Maybe that's where it goes, instead of like, the heads up displays and, all of those like fighter jet cockpit theories and stuff like that. This all of a sudden just does it automatically. And that's more like a valet than assistance.
Yeah, it operates on voice commands. It operates on typing commands, however you want to interact. I could see an interface that is simply just a box on the screen, and you type in the commands or you speak the commands, and then it produces what you need, right?
Yeah.
All of the engines, all of the functionality lies underneath, away from the user's experience. The user doesn't have to bother with learning how something works. You no longer have to understand how to do formulas in an Excel spreadsheet. You no longer understand how to manipulate data in a database. You don't have to understand how to format graphics that fit white space dimensions that should be in any good graphic. You don't have to learn any of that. You just tell it what you want. And then over time, if the AI is learning from you as a user, as opposed to, generically, then that becomes an operating system that does what you want it to do, right? And predicts what you're going to want, right? And then at some point, it knows that you will be doing these kinds of communications and this kind of creation on this particular schedule. And it can even remind you that you've not done things. So I think a lot of our expectation for computing devices can change dramatically.
Well, a good example is that, I was messing around and I was traveling over the holidays with, Netflix, and I noticed that, now they're doing, I mean, they've been doing it for a while. I just never did it, but they just start downloading shit into my devices that they think I might like. Right. And, but not like the link or not like, hey, check this out. I mean, you're opening up on the plane going, shit, I forgot to download anything. And then you look and
it's already done
12
it for
hours. You. Yeah, 12 hours of content just sitting there saying, hey, what do you want? Yep. So I was thinking of that. And I was also thinking about when, I've been redoing a tennis demo reel for my daughter. And wouldn't it be great to just say, hey, go through all the tennis clips and put together a demo reel for me and date the front this and pull in those childhood pictures too and put those at the front and the back. And then it runs through like 4 or 5 things or shows you one. And you're like, yeah, no, move that picture to the front and the back. And, find those clips from that tournament back in April in Boca and put those in there. Just give me some serves and some overheads. And it would do all that. I mean, that's what it does, right? Okay.
Yeah, that's where it's getting to. I mean, we're very close to that. Like the other thing is it can track your social profile for you. So, hey, I want to put together, my favorite photos and videos over the last year, boom, it's done. And you've not had to do a thing. I mean, there's just so many possibilities.
Oh, yeah.
Niblitz is also thinking about the falling in love with your AI factor because he's referencing Her starring Joaquin Phoenix. So also a very interesting movie, by the way.
Yeah, I guess that would be a frictionless experience, right?
But Niblitz, thank you for bringing up that topic.
Yeah,
as I get
cool.
excited talking about this, Joe, it brings me back to something I've been thinking about personally, which is, I really love the tech side of things. For me, those are the deepest dives. And so I'm going to start trying to incorporate a little bit more of that into what I'm doing because if you couldn't tell, I got a little bit excited talking about that. So
yeah, no, I mean, it's that fire hose of new data, new concepts. You have to have a curiosity to learn. And when we see stuff like this, we're like, wow, this is the stuff that could kind of combine all the clunkiness that we always have to deal with and just give us output that we then say yay or nay. And then it automates. So I'm thinking like you were saying social earlier. I mean, geez, what if it, could run the Twitter, social for you? I mean, that's a very easy thing for it.
Absolutely.
And just pulling content. It's like, oh yeah, I read how about CPI print? Get a couple of stories and tweets ready to go for tomorrow, depending upon if it's below or above or on it.
Yeah.
And
here's my opinion on those things. Here's my opinion on those things. And now here's the interesting thing, right? It's what I keep saying over and over again. I talk about when the marketing AI is marketing to the buying AI for corporations or whatever, or we have our own buying AI that goes out and looks for our shit for us. We reach a point where I think there's a massive change for humanity at some point, because at some point when the AI is doing almost everything, we as humans then stop and have to think about how we exist and how we interact as humans. I actually think that it could actually push us more into in-person interactions because so much becomes automated. And I think it also makes a lot of things irrelevant at some point, right?
Screen time goes way down.
It's going to be really interesting. The other side of that is, and that I talk about a lot, is that DeFi in combination with AI could fundamentally change the nature of money. Number one, we're going to be automating away a lot of jobs. And that's going to happen sooner than later. But number two, our relationship to money is going to become very virtual, and it's also going to become nebulous, right? And I think there is a point in the distant future where the meaning, what money means and its value to us changes pretty dramatically. And I think DeFi and AI together are going to result in some significant changes in the planet. So I don't know. We'll see. Interesting article I read the other day. Kids and celebrities are gravitating to old digital cameras, which tells me there's a hunger for kind of some simplicity and traditional stuff for kids in their teens and early 20s, because they actually are loving the fact that the photos that are less beautiful, less intense, less manipulatable. And I'm wondering if we're on the verge of a pullback a bit from digital interactions and social interactions and more in-person interactions, more orientation to things like camping and doing things in nature and that kind of stuff. I'm wondering if we're about to hit one of those waves where that shit peaks and we start to see more real world shit happening amongst younger people. Just really interesting to see that.
Most of the data shows that they are driving towards real world experiences because they've been on screens their entire lives. I mean, I don't know if you followed about 5 years ago, there was a big movement to the Polaroid cameras by the same groups. And then they just went to the digital cameras. But, you have to focus and do things like that. Like we used to have to do with the old film-based SLR cameras. So, the next step I asked, my daughter got a camera like that over the holidays. And I said, "Oh, you got a camera?" Her mom bought it for her. I said, "Oh, well, so you want me to show you how to develop film and stuff like that?" I used to do that when I was younger. And she's like, "Develop what?" And I'm like, "You got a 35 millimeter, right? And develop film. There's all kinds of cool things you can do with that change the way the picture looks." And she's like, No, it's not that kind of camera. It's still digital, but we have to do everything else. And I said, "Well, once you do that, you're probably going to want to check this other thing out too, because it takes in everything from not just lenses, but focal points and shutter speed, and all those types of things, and lighting and things that they're totally different. And when you shoot in black and white, that's when it gets really fun." And then the developing room, how you do that. There's very specific techniques that make it darker, lighter, wash it finer, whatever, that you use to create your art versus, I love the phone pictures too, but like you said, it's not really, I don't know if I want to get that controversial, but I'm going to call it not as much art as if you're doing it with your own hands. It's still art though.
One of the things in the article that the people being interviewed said was, when I take pictures with my phone, I don't think about it, and I rarely go back to look very often at them. When I take pictures with the camera, that means it's a special occasion, and everyone knows that if I pull out the digital camera, this is one of those things I want to remember and keep, and it's important. So that was interesting. Very interesting.
That is super cool.
This change is what crypto is doing in economics, where it's not your account that is digital, but your actual money is digital. And when most of the services you buy are also digital, well, that's going to be different. Yeah, look, we're also going to have manufacturing moving out local and moving in the home to some extent for a lot of things as that improves and processes speed up in the 3D printing world. The world is going to dramatically change. Joe, we have a lot more tabs open, but it's 12:55, my friend.
We will save them for tomorrow.
Yes. Thank you, everyone, for your patience listening to me ramble on about my opinions on tech. We would love to hear your opinions on tech and where it's going. If you think I'm a complete idiot, I'm always open to that possibility. Thank you for watching and listening. Thank you for participating. Niblets, Euphoric, Amen, Mr. Muccioli. Who else was here? Dennis, Anayet, Kabir, thanks for joining us. I hope you're legit. You look a little spammy, but we'll see how you do. Shizzy, did I miss anybody, Joe? I think that's everybody. Thank you so much for participating. We love and appreciate you. If you're watching on Apple Podcasts, please rate and review us there. Helps us a lot. Same with Spotify. If you're watching on YouTube, please smash the thumbs up for Joe. And make sure you're subscribed and click the alerts button so you get alerted when new episodes come out. We love and appreciate all of you that listen and watch. And please tell your friends about us on your favorite social network. It helps us as well. Joe, hope you have a great afternoon.
Yeah, you too, buddy. Stay safe. And again, remember, anything we talk about here is not financial advice. It's just
Yes.
another data stream for you to input into your thought making or decision making process.
Yeah.
So hopefully our
Shizzy
little
said,
bit helps.
great chase goes, guys. Great show, guys. Thank you. And Niblett said, more shallow left manana. Okay. And listen, you guys bring some tokens for shallow left as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not
All right, guys. Have a great
financial advice.
day.
Bye, guys.